Kids, we are glad that you're here in Big Church with us. And let me see if I have some hands. I have a question for you. How many of you guys are in either baseball or softball? Anybody doing that this summer? Okay, yeah, we got a few of you. That's good, because that's what we're going to start with today. T-ball. There's nothing quite like T-ball. Take a look. So is he safe or is he out? I don't really know. But it reminds me of a story about a little guy who loved the game of baseball. And he proudly proclaimed, "I am the best hitter that has ever lived." And he goes out to his backyard, picks up his bat, tosses the ball into the air. He swings with all his might. Misses. Well, he doesn't quit. He tries it again, throws the ball into the air, swings, he misses. Tries it a third time, tosses the ball into the air, he swings, misses. What happens next? How does this little guy process the situation? How does he incorporate his pre-existing belief with this new information? Hold on to that. We're going to get back to that. Here's what we're doing today. Today, we're beginning a new series. We're calling it Crossing Over, following God into the unknown. And what it is we're teaching through the Old Testament book of Joshua. In order to understand the book of Joshua, it's going to be really helpful to know where is this in the Bible, what's taking place, what's going on. So I want to start by giving you a little bit of context as we get into this biblical book of Joshua. Well, first is this. When you get to the Old Testament, the main characters in the Old Testament were most often, they're the biological descendants of a guy named Abraham. They're referred to in the Old Testament as the Israelites or the Hebrews. And here's what they've just experienced. They have been slaves in Egypt for 400 years. 400 years, that's a really long time. But God had made a promise. God had made a promise to Abraham that his descendants were going to become a great nation and that they would enter the promised land. I'm going to say that again for the rich kids, that they would enter the promised land. That's a clue. I'm not going to give you others with the imposter game. Well, the promised land. What we get next in the Bible is it's around 1290 BC, a man by the name of Moses. He enters the scene. And you may be familiar with Moses' story. It's pretty well known. I mean, God, he calls Moses to go to the Pharaoh of Egypt and to say, "Pharaoh, let my people go." And Pharaoh, he's like, "No, hard pass." So God says, "Release the amphibians, frogs." 10 plagues later, Pharaoh's like, "Next time God tells me to do something, I'm just going to say yes." So the nation, the people of Israel, they are set free from slavery in Egypt, and then they begin this journey toward the promised land. And this journey is going to play out to be a long, difficult, challenging journey. There's Red Seas, there's hunger, there's threats. We find this journey in 4 books of the Bible. You'll find this in Exodus, Leviticus, Numbers, Deuteronomy. Joshua is the book that comes after those 4, right after they've been journeying through the promised land. So what happens in these books, Exodus, Leviticus, Numbers, Deuteronomy? Well, God, he consistently provides for them. It was a 2-year journey. They were nomads. They were living day to day. Well, God, he was shaping them. He was preparing them. He was developing their faith. He was giving them the law, and he was leading them with a pillar of fire. 2 years after the Exodus, 2 years after all the plagues, 2 years after the Red Sea incident, that's when we get to the passage we're going to land at today. It's Numbers chapter 13. And if you're thinking, Mike, Numbers isn't Joshua, I get that. Realize that. Numbers 13, it really is the introduction to the book of Joshua. We get this, then we understand what God is doing in the book of Joshua. So we're going to dig in. Number 13, it begins with this. Verse 1, the Lord said to Moses, send some men to explore the land of Canaan, which I am giving to the Israelites. That's God's way of saying, now's the time. Take possession of this promised land, and I'm going to be with you. So the first step to do that, well, it was this, verse 17. When Moses sent them to explore Canaan, he said, go up through the Negev and on into the hill country. See what this land is like and whether the people who live there are strong or weak, few or many. What kind of land do they live in? Is it good or bad? What kind of towns do they live in? Are they unwalled or fortified? How's the soil? Is it fertile or poor? Are there trees in it or not? Do your best to bring back some of the fruit of the land. See, Moses, so he calls 12 people to lead a reconnaissance mission. He calls these 12 people to go into enemy territory and to gather intelligence. What's this land like? Are we going to be able to get it? Are we going to be able to conquer it? So for the next 40 days, these 12 spies, they're exploring this land. One of these 12 spies, Joshua. Well, same Joshua with the name of the book that we're getting into. Joshua, we're introduced to him here. He was one of these 12 spies sent into the land to scout things out. And while exploring, these spies, they ran into something kind of like this. Kids, who is this? Yeah, it's Bowser. That's right. Bowser from the movie, Super Mario movie. So is Bowser a good guy or a bad guy? Yeah, bad guy. Even if you haven't seen the movie, it's pretty obvious, isn't it? He looks like a bad guy. Well, Bowser, he's not threatening because he's of his super intellect. He's threatening because of his size. He's big. Same thing going on in here. Deuteronomy 9, verse 2 tells us this. The people are strong and tall. Anakites. You know about them and have heard it said, who can stand up against the Anakites? See, the Anakites, they weren't just one man like Goliath, years down the road. This was an entire nation. This was an entire people. This was a whole civilization. They were bigger. They were stronger. They were tougher. These 12 spies explore the land and they realize this land, it's nice, but it's taken. And it's taken by giants. What happens next? And what happens next really depends on who you ask. Because you ask Joshua and you ask his buddy Caleb, they would tell you this. Verse 30, then Caleb silenced the people before Moses and said, we should go up and take possession of the land, for we can certainly do it. We can do it. We can do it. We can do it. They are big, but we are smart. They have brawn, but we have the Lord. He will guide us. He will provide for us. He will protect us. He will give us the victory. Joshua and Caleb, they had faith. Joshua and Caleb, they believed. Joshua and Caleb, they were optimists. Are you an optimist? How do you know? Here's a little test. You know you're an optimist if you let your kids use glitter. You're an optimist. Or this. You know you're an optimist if when you get to a red light in traffic, you think, oh, well, great. Now I get to listen to another song. You're an optimist. Joshua and Caleb, these guys were optimists. They saw this situation and they said, we can handle this. We can do this. There were 10 other spies. And these 10 other spies, they had a different opinion. Verse 31. We can't attack those people. They are stronger than we are. And they spread among the Israelites a bad report about the land they had explored. They said, the land we explored devours those living in it. All the people we saw there are of great size. In other words, they said, Joshua, get off your happy horse and wake up. We can't win. We can't win. We can't beat these guys. I mean, look at them. Look how many of them there are. Count them. And have you seen them? They're giants. Literally. Joshua, don't confuse faith with stupidity. Right? He said, retreat, retreat, retreat. I want you to notice something particularly important about this passage. How many groups of spies were there? One. One group of spies. You know, a common misperception is that there were two groups of spies. There were not two groups of spies. There was one group of spies. They all saw the same thing. Same report, same information. They all had the same facts. Two of them said, let's go. We can do this. 10 of them said, no, we can't. If they all had the same information, if they all had the same facts, why? Why this division? Why this disagreement? What was the difference? Well, the difference was this. They had the same facts. They saw the same thing. The difference was this. Their response. Their response. It's been said that there are two types of people in this world. Those who think they can and those who think they can't, and both are right. Which are you? I read this and think, well, which am I? And I would like to be able to stand up here and tell you, well, I'm a Joshua. I think a more honest answer would be, it depends on the day. It does depend on the day for me. There are days when I am filled with faith, and there are days I'm filled with courage, and there are days that I'm filled with hope. But there are other days. Sometimes, I'm in tune with God. But there are other days. There are days when I am overwhelmed. Days when I'm overwhelmed with challenges. Days when I don't see the promised land. Days when I see the giants. I think, well, what's the difference? How can I be more like Joshua? How can I be more like Caleb? Verse 25. At the end of 40 days, they returned from exploring the land. 12 spies. They all had the same field experience. They all had the same facts. They all had the same information. 10 of them said we can't. 2 of them said we can. What was the difference? Most of life's battles are won or lost right up here. In our minds. Are you familiar with confirmation bias? Confirmation bias is a really fascinating thing. Confirmation bias is our tendency to notice the things that support our pre-existing opinions. Let me give you an example. Anybody following the NBA playoffs? We got one. Okay. Well, let me fill you in on what's going on. Last night, big game in the NBA playoffs. It was the Western Conference Finals, and there was an upset. San Antonio Spurs knocked off the reigning champion Oklahoma City Thunder. And some of you are maybe still kind of bummed out a little bit about that. But how did they do it? How did they pull this off? I'll tell you how I think they did it. I think they did it because they had the most valuable player on the court. I'm not talking about Wemby. I'm talking about this guy. The referee. Have you ever noticed this? It's like the referee always seems to be against whatever team you're cheering for. Why? That is confirmation bias. We have this tendency to notice the calls that go against our teams, but we don't have a tendency so much to notice the calls that go for our team. It's confirmation bias. We will find what we are looking for. If you are looking for problems, you will find problems. If you are looking for issues, you will find issues. If you are looking for obstacles, you will find obstacles. If you want to find, ways that person hurt you, you can find ways that person hurt you. If you want to find ways that you've been done wrong, you can find ways that you've been done wrong. If you want to be critical, you can pick apart any organization, any group, any person, any situation. Being filled with negativity and criticism and fear is easy. That's actually kind of like our default setting. Confirmation bias. The Apostle Paul encourages us to put this concept of confirmation bias, to put it to work for us. Look at what he says. This is in Philippians 4, verse 8. He says, brothers and sisters, whatever is true, whatever is noble, whatever is right, whatever is pure, whatever is lovely, whatever is admirable, if anything is excellent or praiseworthy, what should we do? Well, read the rest of it with me. Think about such things. He said, think about those things. Those are the kind of things that you should get up in your head. Wisdom from God found right there. He's saying, put confirmation bias to work for you. Look for the goodness of God. It's easy to find the bad things. It's easy to find the things that are disturbing. Look for the goodness of God, because when we look for it, we will find it. Might have to dig a little bit, but it's there. Instead of fixating and spending your life focused on all the problems and all the challenges and all the negativities, look for the goodness of our God. If you look for where God is working, well, you'll see him working. If you choose to look for the good, well, guess what? You'll see good. If you look to find good in a person, even a person that you don't really care for, if you look for the good, you'll find something good, and it could change your relationship. If you want to look at a situation, even a bad situation, even a troubling situation, and you say, well, is there something good happening in this? If you look for that, you will find that, and it could change your perspective. We live in a world today where we are just bombarded by the negative. Because the negative, it draws us in. It creates fear. It creates kind of an addiction to be able to see what's going on, what's happening, and it pulls us in. It can be really easy to become discouraged. It can become really easy to live life just cynical. Because when you're looking for the bad, you will find it every time. But Numbers 13, God is saying to us, you can flip that. You can flip that. You can flip that and look for the good. Because when we do that, when we're looking for the good, we will find it. Most battles in life are won or lost right up here, right, in our minds. Numbers 13, verse 30. Then Caleb silenced the people before Moses and said, we should go up and take possession of the land, for we can certainly do it. But the men who had gone up with him said, we can't attack those people. They are stronger than we are. One of the common mistakes we make is to interpret God through our current circumstances. So, well, I don't like what's going on in my life right now. What's going on right now is bad, so that must mean that God is bad. Well, no. There's another way to look at that. We can interpret our circumstances through the goodness of God. So the goodness of God, that's a foundational belief for me. So I'm not just gonna, float along on a whim. I'm gonna believe that. I'm gonna believe that God is good, and that means I am going to look for the good. We can do that even on a bad day. We can still experience the good. We can think things like, today, things aren't going great for me today, but if I'm looking for the good, I'll realize God, He's still involved. If I'm looking for the good, I'll realize God, He still cares about me. If I'm looking for the good, I'll also say, God, even though I'm in a tough situation right now, God is right there with me. See, even in dark, even in challenging, even in painful times, we still have things we can be thankful for. And Paul is saying, pay attention to those things. Be aware of those things. Be aware of the things in life that we have to be thankful for, because most battles in life are won or lost right in here, in our minds. Remember the story that I started with? There's a little guy who loved baseball, and he boldly proclaimed, I am the greatest hitter who's ever lived. And he went out to his backyard, got a bat, threw a ball in the air, took a big swing, missed. Tried it again. Strike two, he missed. Tried it again, still missed. What happens next? Well, this little guy, he said this. He said, man, I must not only be the best hitter in the world, I think I'm also the best pitcher in the world. Because I just struck out the best hitter in the world. You see what he did? He reframed it. He reframed it. And reframing is really creating a different way to look at the same situation. We can do this. Reframing, it happens. It's something that happens right up here. It happens in our minds. It's thinking different. So let me ask you this question. I think this is what God is putting in this passage for us. He's saying, how about you? Is there anything that's going on in your life today that it's heavy, it's hard, it's difficult? What is it? Is there anything in your life that you think maybe it would be of value if you could find a way to reframe it? Because it is nearly impossible to live a joy-filled life when you are filled with negative thoughts. That's important, so I'm going to say that again. It is nearly impossible to live a joy-filled life if you are filled with negative thoughts. You can control, we can't control everything that happens to us in life, but we can control how we frame it. That's this. That's Numbers chapter 13. If you don't change the way you think, you can't change the way you live. So, let's get really practical. It is possible, let's say you wake up in the morning. It is possible to wake up in the morning and think, this is going to be a bad day. I have to do this today, or I have to do that today. I'm going to have to see him today, and I don't like him. I'm going to have a meeting with her today, and I really don't care for her. I don't like this job. I don't like this task. Today is going to stink. If that's what's going on in your mind, what kind of day do you think you're going to have? A bad one. Bad one. You're setting yourself up for failure. Hear the words of Paul. Philippians 4 verse 8, he says, brothers and sisters, whatever is true, whatever is noble, whatever is right, whatever is pure, whatever is lovely, whatever is admirable, if anything is excellent or praiseworthy, what should we do? Read the rest of it with me. Think about such things. He's saying those are the things to get right up here in our mind. See, on that same day, on that same bad day, we can wake up and we can reframe it. We reframe it this way. One of the things that I find very helpful is just starting with a few minutes in the Bible. Doesn't have to be long, but here's what that reframes my day. I look at the Bible and I see God and I realize, oh, look at who he is. Look at how he provided for these people. Look at what he did there. And I said, God is good. And I'm reminded God is with me. And I might have a challenging day that lies ahead, but all of a sudden I am aware that God is here present with me. I'm reframing the day. Yeah, that guy I'm not looking forward to meeting with rubs me the wrong way, but he is created in the image of God. Yeah, this isn't my favorite thing to do, but the Lord is going to be with me as I do it. If that's the kind of thing that's going on in your mind, what kind of day do you think you're going to have? A better one. A better one. That's Numbers 13. Put confirmation bias to work for you. That's what they did. Verse 26, they came back to Moses and Aaron and the whole Israelite community at Kadesh in the desert of Paran. There, they reported to them and to the whole assembly. 12 spies, same facts, same information, same field experience. 10 said, we can't. 2 said, oh yes. Oh, yes, we can. Most of life's battles, they're won or lost right in here, in our mind. We can't choose every situation in life. We can't control every outcome in life, but we can control how we frame it. So how about you? What's going on in your life today? And maybe more importantly, what's going on in your mind? Do you see the giants or do you see the promised land? They're both there. Do you see the problem or do you see the possibility? They're both there. Do you see the challenge or do you see the goodness of our God? They're both there. What are you thinking about? What are you dwelling on? What are you looking for? Numbers 13. Pray with me.